On my way back from meeting my girlfriend's parents, I stumbled upon a video of her proposing to someone else and getting rejected. The guy who turned her down in the video was none other than her ex-boyfriend. Linda has this childhood sweetheart, an old flame from back in high school. They started dating in high school and broke up in senior year of college for reasons I don't know. Linda and I were college buddies. I saw with my own eyes how in love Linda and her ex were during college. But after graduation, I ended up with her. Our relationship lasted 3 years. Yet last night, without any warning, Linda proposed to me. And just today, we met her parents. On the way home, feeling a bit bored, I started scrolling on TikTok. I accidentally came across a clip where Linda was proposing to her ex, Felix. To my shock, the ring she was holding in the video was the exact same one she used to propose to me last night. I was stunned for a moment, then instinctively paused the video and downloaded it to my phone. So, is the reason Linda proposed to me because Felix rejected her? Linda and I are college pals. I fell for her at first sight in freshman year. But before I could even make a move, classmates mentioned she had a longtime boyfriend. They had been classmates from elementary through high school and even ended up in the same college, despite choosing different majors. That's when I first saw Linda's boyfriend, Felix. They'd walk hand in hand across campus, and the forums buzzed about them. Ever since, I buried my feelings for Linda deep inside. I really liked Linda, but I was raised not to interfere with someone else's relationship. However, maybe because I couldn't have her, my crush on Linda only intensified instead of fading. During senior year internship, I chose a job out of town because Linda was local and I wanted distance. For a whole year, I didn't see Linda again. On graduation day, I saw her again and almost didn't recognize her. She'd lost weight and seemed worn out. From afar, I didn't dare to greet her until she approached me. Linda stood in front of me and said, "Evan, want to take a photo together?" I was caught off guard, unsure whether to nod or shake my head. For 4 years, to avoid making Felix jealous, Linda never interacted much with the girls in our class. Seeing this unusual side of Linda, I wondered if she'd lost it. Seeing I didn't respond, Linda asked again, "Hey, Evan, want to get a picture together?" Thinking we might never meet again, I blurted, "Sure." Linda handed her phone to a classmate nearby, asking them to snap a picture. After, Linda said, "Let's exchange contacts so I can send you the pic." I didn't expect her to add me, especially right before graduation, even if it was just to send a photo. Honestly, I looked stiff in the picture, and Linda didn't look much better. Still, something made me save it as the background for our chats. Making it my screensaver? That I wouldn't dare. Linda was still someone else's girlfriend, after all, and I wasn't without morals. Later, my roommate sent me a link to a forum post for some gossip. Turns out someone anonymously claimed that Linda and Felix, our model couple from school, had broken up. The poster confidently stated that Felix dumped Linda 3 months ago. I thought it was bogus. Linda and Felix seemed so in love. How could they break up? But then, a couple of minutes later, I saw Linda's latest status on social media. Just 2 words. It's true. Linda and Felix really had broken up. After that, Linda started chatting with me more often. On Valentine's Day, around 10 p.m., Linda called and asked if I'd want to give us a shot, and I didn't say no. At that time, I knew Linda still had feelings for Felix, but I foolishly believed time could heal everything, that Linda would eventually forget Felix. But now, seeing the proposal video with Felix, I realized Linda never forgot him. The volume on my phone was low. Linda didn't know I saw the video of her proposing to Felix. I planned to confront Linda after we got home. But what I didn't expect was Felix himself showing up as a surprise. Half a year ago, Linda and I both changed jobs and started living together. But now Felix was in the apartment we shared. The door code was changed only after we moved in, and only Linda and I knew it. Clearly, Linda had told Felix the code. After 3 years, he was even more handsome. Without glancing my way, he went straight to Linda. "Linda, I need to talk to you." Linda looked at me and said, "Evan, how about you take a shower first while I step out with Felix for a bit?" She phrased it as a question, but I knew even if I said no, she'd still go out with Felix tonight. Sure, I said with a smile. I'm a bit hungry. Could you bring me some food back? Remember, no onions or shrimp. Hearing my words, Felix's face stiffened for a moment. Okay. Linda nodded, opened the door, and walked out first. I knew Linda wasn't coming back anytime soon. I unhurriedly showered and washed my hair. It had been over an hour since Linda and Felix left, and Linda still wasn't back. I sent Linda a message, asking, "When are you coming back? I'm really hungry." Hungry was just an excuse. We'd had dinner with her parents at a restaurant. That restaurant was just my style. I was so stuffed on the way back. Linda didn't reply. I watched the video of Linda rejecting my proposal again. Linda proposed to me last night, but the video was posted yesterday afternoon. I took off the ring from my finger and compared it to the one in the video. Exactly the same. Even the box holding the ring was identical. This ring was what Linda bought to propose to Felix. After Felix rejected her, she used the same ring to propose to me. Turns out I was the backup all along. I sat on the couch for 2 solid hours. Linda didn't come back, and she didn't reply to my messages. I called Linda, and she picked up after just 2 rings. "Hello?" But it was Felix's voice I heard. I heard Felix chuckle, saying, "Sorry, forgot to tell you. Linda's not going home tonight. You can sleep by yourself." When I hung up, I noticed my hand was trembling. Turns out, when you're really upset, you can't even cry. Just like now, my heart was broken, but not a single tear fell. I watched the video of Linda proposing to Felix over and over again until it made me nauseous. Just when I was about to head back to the bedroom, I got a text from a coworker. "Evan, did you and your girlfriend break up? I saw her with a pretty good-looking girl tonight going to a hotel." Attached was a short video. In it, Linda and Felix were entering a hotel together. Even though it just showed a side view, I recognized Linda instantly. I replayed the clip several times before replying to my coworker. "Yeah, we broke up. I'm just glad I didn't post about Linda's proposal last night." After replying to my coworker, I plugged in my phone and started packing my things. I didn't plan on taking anything we bought together. If we're gonna break up, it should be a clean break. Surprisingly, from seeing the video of Linda proposing to Felix until now, I hadn't shed a tear. It's not that I'm not hurt, it's just that I'm too hurt to cry. Linda didn't come home all night. I sat on the couch until morning, not sleeping a wink. Finally, at around 7 a.m., Linda came back. She was wearing the same clothes from yesterday, holding breakfast she got from the store near our building's entrance. Seeing me on the couch, Linda asked, "Evan, why are you up so early?" She put the breakfast on the table and said, "I got you breakfast. Come eat." I watched Linda quietly. At that moment, I suddenly felt like crying. Linda noticed I wasn't moving and came over to tug at me. She explained softly, "I came back late last night. Didn't want to wake you, so I just crashed on the couch. I went to get breakfast for you this morning. Evan, don't ignore me." Looking up at Linda's gentle face, I sneered. "Looks like you didn't know. I sat on that couch all night." I watched as the smile on Linda's face slowly stiffened, and a strange disgust rose in my heart. She was flustered, trying to explain. "Evan, my clothes got dirty last night, so you went to the hotel with him," I interrupted Linda. She fell silent for a moment, then looked at me, doubtful. "You followed me? Evan, do you really not trust me that much? You sure know how to turn things around," I thought, seeing the woman before me as suddenly so unfamiliar. I picked up the ring from the coffee table, handing it back to Linda. "Linda," I said, "if you're hung up on Felix, I'll step aside. Let's break up." I'd been with Linda for 3 years, liked her for 7. But now I just don't want to like her anymore. Forced relationships only quench thirst. They're not sweet. And I only want sweet things like melons, not bitter ones. "I'm not hung up on him." Linda refused to take the ring. "Evan, I was wrong last night. I'm sorry. Please stop this." Stop this? I laughed at myself before playing the proposal video with Felix and Linda. We're adults. Shouldn't we leave each other some dignity? "Linda? Proposing twice with the same ring, you're really thrifty." Linda's face turned pale. She grabbed my hand, Evan, this ring was bought with the first money I made. It's special to me, so you took it to propose to Felix and, after being rejected, came back to me, the backup? And now you're putting on this act for whom? Linda looked at me with pleading eyes. Evan, Felix came to me last night because he... Linda stopped suddenly, then continued, nothing happened with him last night. Please believe me. I don't care. I stepped back. Linda, when I said we should break up, I wasn't asking your opinion. I was informing you. Just as Linda was about to speak, the door opened from the outside. Linda, am I interrupting? Felix? How come you're here? Linda frowned. The person who entered was Felix. He was wearing a shirt similar to the one from last night, but this one's collar was opened wider. Felix had fair skin, and his collarbone was quite nice. He took out a small light green charm from his bag. You dropped this charm from your keychain at my place last night. I noticed Linda's expression changed right away. She instinctively glanced at me. I smirked. Are you two going to chat at the door all day? Looking awkward, Linda made some space. Come in. As Felix entered, I saw some faint hickeys peeking from his shirt collar. A closer look showed similar marks on Felix's collarbone. Felix seemed to catch on to where I was looking. He instinctively covered his collar and then tried to play it cool, saying, the hotel I stayed at last night wasn't very clean. I think I'm having an allergic reaction. I couldn't tell if he was trying to hide something or just showing off in front of me. I thought I was ready to face both of them calmly. But seeing Felix like this really got to me. I couldn't show it, though. I didn't want Felix to think he got to me. Felix sat down on the couch and in an innocent tone said, Linda, why did you leave so early this morning? I was hoping you'd take me out for breakfast. Linda replied awkwardly, the hotel has breakfast. You don't need to eat out. Felix, as if I wasn't even there, continued, but I wanted you to take me. It's been a while since I've been back and I have no idea where the good breakfast spots are. Linda seemed to sense something was off and glanced at me. Felix, you've returned the keychain, so you can leave now, she said. Felix stood up. Evan, don't get the wrong idea. Nothing happened with Linda last night. Then he winked at me and whistled a happy tune as he walked out. I didn't even want to ask Linda how Felix knew our door code. Linda suddenly said, Evan, stop being so childish. Okay? I gave her a lukewarm look, utterly disappointed. She still saw this as me being childish at this point. I'm not acting up, I said calmly. Linda, I'm serious, we're done. Because of Felix? She looked at me in disbelief. Evan, what do I have to say to make you believe nothing happened between me and him? Her tone softened suddenly. The engagement ring thing, I interrupted her. Linda, I've said it before and I won't say it again. It's pointless. I handed her back the house keys. From now on, our paths would part. Ignoring her, I grabbed my suitcase and left the home we'd shared for 6 months. I didn't anticipate seeing Felix again when I got downstairs. He was standing by the building entrance, like he knew I'd be coming down. Evan, he called out to me, standing in the sunlight with a triumphant smile. I suddenly remembered school days when people who were turned down by Linda would see that same smile on his face. Except now it was aimed at me. In this silent battle, Felix was the victor. Ignoring him, I dragged my suitcase out. Evan, Felix called out again. Casually following me, he said, You've taken care of Linda these past 2 years. Thanks a lot. I paused, turning to face him. Thank me for what? Felix, what right do you have to thank me? Honestly, with Linda, it didn't feel like anyone was taking care of anyone else. It was a partnership. I'd cook. She'd wash dishes. I'd clean the tables. She'd mop. In all things around the house, she was right there by my side. Without Felix around, Linda could have been a great girlfriend, a great wife. But unfortunately, there's no alternate reality. Felix grinned. Can't you see it? Linda's heart has always belonged to me. Why else? He paused and then continued with a meaningful smile. Did you see how she kept the engagement ring she once got for me? I realized what Felix meant by once. I thought of that proposal video on my phone. But before I could speak, Felix began talking about Linda proposing to him. He said, You know why Linda and I broke up back then? I didn't reply. It was pointless, since he'd tell me anyway. Felix's face maintained that sweet smile. Narrowing his eyes as if reminiscing, he said, "We hadn't even graduated college yet. I didn't want to marry so young, so I said no. But Linda wanted to marry me so badly that she used breaking up as a threat. So we split up out of spite." Subconsciously, my hand tightened around my phone in my pocket. No wonder Linda and Felix in that proposal video looked so different than they do now. The proposal wasn't recent. But even if it wasn't, I didn't regret breaking up with Linda. As soon as Felix came back, she easily left me to go with him. This told me that Felix was more important to her than I was. Even if I tried to continue with Linda, she'd eventually choose Felix over me. I didn't want to be the one who gets left behind, so I chose to leave first. Felix said, "The ring was bought with Linda's first earnings. It might not be expensive, but it certainly held a lot of meaning." "Evan," Felix called my name again. "Thank you for breaking up with Linda. Otherwise, she'd be struggling with how to break it off with you." After breaking up with Linda, I stayed in a hotel for a week. I worked during the day, and my buddies helped me look for a new place at night. It took a lot of searching, but I finally secured an apartment. I returned the engagement gifts Linda's parents gave me and blocked all of her contact info. I didn't answer any unknown calls. But one day after work, as I left the office heading for the subway, I saw Linda standing by the entrance. I hesitated and thought of taking another route, but Linda had already spotted me. She ran towards me with a bouquet of roses. "Evan, wait up." Her pleading tone made my heart stir just as I was getting back to normal. She pushed the roses into my hands. "Evan, don't ignore me. I really know I was wrong." Linda pulled a small box from her pocket, opened it, revealing a simple ring. She said, "I bought a new one. Forget the last time. Let me propose to you again." She started to kneel. Worried about coworkers seeing, I quickly stopped her. "Linda, stop. We can't go back to how things were." The whole Felix situation just made it all too uncomfortable. I used to think time would slowly make Linda forget about him. But when Felix showed up again, I realized I was just being naive. Linda's hand paused for a moment. "Evan, why are we breaking up? If it's because of Felix, I can explain." "What do you want to explain?" I asked Linda. "Isn't it true that you used the ring you proposed to Felix with when you proposed to me? And didn't you leave me alone while you spent the whole night with Felix at the hotel?" Felix might have exaggerated things, but those two events were undeniably true. Linda was silent for a while before she said, "I was wrong about the ring. Evan, I'm sorry. I didn't say anything back." Linda continued, "Felix came to me that day because he broke up with his girlfriend. He was upset and couldn't find anyone else to talk to. I couldn't help but laugh." "Linda, do you believe that? Even if it's true, as someone with a boyfriend, didn't you know you should avoid situations like that?" This time Linda was the one who fell silent. She seemed lost in thought. I wondered if she had considered this before, or maybe she knew it was wrong but assumed I wouldn't mind. Maybe she thought I'd be as forgiving as before. I said, "Put yourself in my shoes. If my ex came to me, said she broke up, and I comforted her and spent the night at a hotel with her, the next day she could freely come to our home, knowing the password. Linda, if it were you, what would you think?" I handed the flowers back to Linda. "Go home, and next time you fall in love, don't make the same mistakes." Seeing Linda again actually caused me a lot of pain. But short-term pain is better than letting it drag on. If we kept forcing ourselves, the resentment would only grow. Linda and I could end up fighting about this countless times. She might feel guilty initially, but would she feel the same after a while? No. Linda would think I was being unreasonable, that I was just stirring up trouble. I could already see where our future was headed. I didn't want it to go that way. Breaking up now means we can both maintain some dignity. After 3 years of being together, I didn't want things to get ugly before we finally split. That would be too much. Linda didn't immediately take the flowers I handed her. "Evan, I'm sorry for hurting you. If you've made up your mind, I respect your choice, but..." She paused. "I have one condition. Can you take me off your blocked list, please?" Linda's voice sounded almost pleading. Looking at her careful expression, I couldn't bring myself to say no. "All right." I handed the flowers to her again, and this time Linda took them. In front of her, I took out my phone and removed her from the blocked list. Yet Linda still looked downcast. My phone wallpaper and lock screen used to have pictures of Linda and me. But after moving out from Linda's place, I changed all of them. Linda saw that too. But as they say, better late than never. Why wait until now to be sad? For whom is the sadness meant to be shown now? Later, my buddy sent me a screenshot from TikTok. Apparently, I stumbled across Felix's account. I impulsively opened TikTok and searched for Felix's username. The pinned video was the proposal of Linda to him. It already had thousands of likes, comments, and shares. Felix said, "Can past regrets be fixed?" The comments were full of people encouraging him to win her back. I never thought Felix was the one who posted it. The account I saw then was some marketing account. At that time, I thought it was a bystander who posted the proposal moment. Turns out it wasn't. I checked the latest video from Felix. This time, Linda's back was in the shot with a hotel backdrop. Felix said, "Success." The video was posted the same night I saw the proposal video. Even though it had been a while, seeing the video still stung. I uninstalled TikTok. My brother called right after. "Did you see the picture I sent?" he asked. I thought he meant Felix's TikTok screenshot. "Yeah, but it's all in the past, so don't send me those anymore." He paused for a couple of seconds. "Not that one. I sent a photo of a pretty girl. Interested? If you are, I can introduce you." I sighed. "Forget it. I'm just not in the mood right now. After all these years of loving Linda, how could I just move on so quickly?" He said, "There's a reunion next week, and Linda will probably be there too. Are you sure you want to pass it up?" No matter what he said, I turned him down. Having just broken up with Linda, I was not ready to think about someone else. I wasn't planning to go to that reunion. There's no point. Since leaving school, our lives all went different directions, and we don't have much to talk about anymore. We hardly chat online, so meeting in person would just be awkward. But on the day of the reunion, I saw a post a classmate shared. It said, "The model couple from school, still together after all these years." Attached was a picture of Linda sitting next to Felix. She was drinking, and he was looking at her with adoration. Good-looking couple, anyone would think they were a perfect match. I glanced at it and moved on quickly. Linda and I broke up. It doesn't matter if she and Felix get back together or even marry soon. It has nothing to do with me. But I didn't expect that night, just when I was about to sleep, Linda would call me. She said, "Evan, I'm downstairs at your place. I brought you some food. Come down quickly so I can give it to you." Linda's voice sounded all slurred. No need to ask, it was obvious she was drunk. I paused for 2 seconds and said, "Linda, just head back. I was about to sleep." Linda insisted, "Evan, can't you just come down and see me for a second? Just one look, and I'll leave." Suddenly hit me I had moved. Linda had no idea where I lived now. I instinctively walked to the window and looked down, and there she was, squatting under the streetlight by the entrance of the building. "Linda, who told you my address?" But Linda didn't answer that. She just pleaded, "Evan, please come down. Let me see you." Linda's voice was getting louder. Worried she'd wake up the neighbors, I quickly grabbed my keys and headed out. As soon as she saw me, Linda stumbled over. I could smell the booze on her even before she came close. Linda reached into her pocket and pulled out a handful of pistachios, grinning like a goofball. "Evan, your favorite pistachios. I brought them just for you." I didn't take them, so she stood there with her hand outstretched. Eventually, I took the pistachios. What's the point in arguing with someone drunk? Linda beamed even brighter once I took them. But then, all of a sudden, she started crying. She said, "Evan, can we not break up? I really know I was wrong. Can you come back, please?" Looking at Linda now, I felt surprisingly calm. But before I could say no, I noticed someone standing under a tree not far away. When I looked over, the person started walking toward us. It was Felix. I quickly put it together. "Did you bring her here?" Felix nodded with a smirk. People, once they're drunk, they start missing their exes. "I think you know a bit about that, right?" I ignored Felix's hint. "It's late. Take her home." "Evan," Felix suddenly called out, "do you know why Linda confessed to you back then?" I stopped instinctively. "I'm not that curious." But what if I just want to tell you? Felix's malice was clear. In college, even though you hid it well, Linda and I knew you liked her. Felix's words made me question myself. Was it that obvious back in college how much I liked Linda? I wasn't sure. Showing off as if he'd won, Felix said, Linda confessed to you only because she came back to me, but I refused her. Felix glanced at Linda. She was squatting there, nodding off, probably asleep. Linda had a habit of falling asleep quickly when drunk. Felix said, to Linda, you were just a backup, someone to help her get over me. I looked Felix in the eye and said calmly, there's no need to tell me all this. Linda and I are over. Do what you want to win her back. No need to waste your time on me. Once I decided to break up, I didn't entertain any more thoughts about Linda. Felix said, Evan, I'm just reminding you that, to Linda, I'm the one she still really wants. To her, you're nothing. He looked at Linda again. She's only asking you to get back together because her pride can't take being dumped. You didn't actually think she loves you, did you? Felix's attitude was almost amusing to me. I replied, I never thought that. But looking at you now, maybe that's what you're afraid of. I chuckled, adding, if you were so confident, Felix, you wouldn't need to be here saying all this. It's when you're not sure of yourself that you keep seeking reassurance. Like when I first started dating Linda. I always knew Felix was in her heart. Yet I couldn't stop myself from trying to prove my importance. Looking back now, I realize how foolish I was. Felix's smile faded. He said coldly, Evan, since you and Linda are broken up, I hope you never appear before her again. I've set my sights on her. I couldn't help but laugh. Felix, you look ridiculous right now. Felix squinted, what's your point? Slowly, I said, was that proposal video your idea too? You were going to make sure I saw it, right? Sharing a lot of mutual friends from college, Felix was bound to get that video to me somehow. Felix cracked a small smile, yeah, I made it happen. But everything in that video was real. Back then, Linda did propose to me. So if you still liked her, why break up? I asked. Felix raised his chin, as great as I am, I couldn't just stick to one. You gotta try what's out there to know what's best for you. I was speechless. What kind of mentality is that? Felix continued, I've played around enough and Linda's not married. She's not over me entirely, or she wouldn't have gone to the hotel with me that night, right? I was about to speak when Linda's voice cut in. She said, nothing happened that night, right? Linda stood up, totally clear-eyed. No sign of being drunk at all. I was dumbfounded. Linda had been faking it? Felix went pale. Linda, listen to me. Felix tried to explain, but Linda interrupted firmly. Felix, enough. We didn't do anything that night. Why lie to Evan? With a bitter smile, Felix replied, don't you get it? It was for you. To win you back, I had to get Evan out of the way. Linda stayed silent for a while. Felix put on a pitiful look and said, Linda, I was just saying those things to piss off Evan. Don't take it seriously. I really do love you, that's why I came back. Linda gave a sarcastic smile, enough already. If you keep acting, there's no point. Linda turned to me apologetically and said, Evan, I'm sorry. I let out a long sigh and cut her off, no need to apologize. If you're not drunk, head home. It's late and I need to get some rest. With that, I turned and headed upstairs. For a long time after, I didn't hear anything about Linda, and she never bothered me again. Recently, my buddy got a promotion and insisted on taking me out for some fine dining. Unexpectedly, we ran into Felix and a slightly older woman at the restaurant. The woman looked like she was around 40 and seemed pretty gentle. Once our orders were placed, my buddy picked up his phone and started furiously messaging people. A few minutes later, he leaned in and whispered, I found out that Felix and Linda didn't get back together. Linda seems to have taken a job in another state, and Felix is on a date with that woman. I was a bit surprised. I didn't expect Felix to be dating again so soon. My buddy glanced around and then scooted over to sit next to me. He continued, the woman Felix is dating has been divorced and has a kid. I was amazed at his detective skills. With Felix's charms, how'd he end up as a stepdad? My buddy chuckled and said, there's a rumor that Felix partied too hard with his last girlfriend and, can't have kids anymore. So he figured he'd find someone who already has them. He carried on. Apparently, he went for Linda because he thought she loved him deeply and wouldn't mind. But turns out, Linda really doesn't like him anymore. I was at a loss for words. My buddy settled back into his seat and asked, "So, Evan, do you regret breaking up with Linda?" Without hesitation, I shook my head. I had thought things through before splitting up. Whatever Felix's deal was, the issues between Linda and me were real. My buddy sighed and suddenly passed me a paper bag he'd been holding. "Here, Linda wanted me to give you this. Next time she tries to send something, I won't do it." I peeked into the bag and saw it was filled with snacks. I remembered I once told Linda that I wanted to settle down over there. I set the bag aside and earnestly said, "If she tries to send anything else, just turn her down for me. Since I'm not looking to patch things up, it's best not to meddle." After that, Linda never sent anything my way again. I heard Felix married that divorced woman. As for whether they're happy or not, well, only they would know. After our breakup, I focused entirely on my career. I just got promoted last week. With a little help from my family, I bought a place near a subway station. Honestly, not having a relationship isn't a big deal. Making money is its own kind of joy.